Hello, everyone. We're going to be reading two chapters this time because they are shorter chapters. This is chapter 11. It's called The Escape. It says White Fang became an expert fighter. He learned to leap unexpected dog, flip them on their side, and attack their bellies. All the dogs avoided him for this very reason. These fights were usually broken up quickly, with White Fang banished back to his tent. On those rare occasions when no man were around, the fights were more dangerous. The dogs fought until one gave up and a truce was called. As White Fang became meaner and received more beatings from Gary Beavers and no kindness from the other dogs, he was less able to let go. And then one day a dog was killed. It was a terrible and quick fight. White Fang was so strong and confident that it only took a few minutes. He trotted home afterwards. He sat beside his master by the fire as if nothing strange had happened. White Fang didn't understand that he had done anything wrong. There was no one to guide him. The owner of the other dog came to Gary Beavers and demanded payment for his loss. Gary Beaver wouldn't listen, though. "You can't change a wolf," he said, "and White Fang is my wolf." That night by the fire, Gary Beaver gave White Fang an extra big piece of meat. "You're certainly a fighter," he said. These were hard lessons for the wolf. He was rewarded for his cruelty and fighting. The main focus in life was to please his master, and he thought fighting was the best. Gary Beaver was always quick with the beatings. It was difficult for White Fang to know right from wrong. The beatings often came at unexpected times. For instance, when he stole fish right from the hand of a small boy, Gary Beaver did not beat him. When the boy's father came to complain, threatening to hit White Fang, Gary Beaver protected him. However, when White Fang returned to his master's tent at the end of the day, he might be kicked without warning as he neared the fire. He never knew which it would be or why it happened. He learned to expect the worst. The days were getting shorter, and the tribe started to pack up camp and move south for winter. White Fang watched as Gary Beaver's wife tied up their belongings and Gray Beaver put them on a sled. The cub moved around camp and saw the others were doing the same. He understood that things were changing once again. Most of the families had already left when White Fang went into the woods. He didn't go far, though, just far enough to be hidden. He could hear Gray Beaver calling him. It was very hard to disobey his master, but White Fang stayed put. After a while, Gray Beaver stopped calling and the camp was silent. White Fang knew that he was once again alone in the wild. Chapter 12, Home Again. Darkness was falling for a while, and White Fang played among the trees, happy in his freedom. He ran quickly, jumping over rocks, searching for squirrels. He continued to play until all the daylight was gone. It was clear night with many stars and a bright white moon. White Fang listened to the woods around him. It was very quiet, much quieter than life in the camp. Then, quite suddenly, he became aware of the loneliness. He sat down and listened to the silence. It frightened him. He suspected danger, but had no idea what to expect. It had been a long time since he was alone or in the wild. He ran back to the deserted camp and scared. He knew he had made a mistake by staying behind. He was too used to the comforts of man and too and to being protected by his master. He missed the warmth of the fire and the smell of Gray Beaver's pipe. Right about now, his Gray Beaver's wife would be throwing him a fish supper. Mitzah would be telling stories about his day, and he went to the place where Gray Beaver's tent had once stood. It still smelled of his master and family. The tent had left a round mark on the ground. He sat down, raised his head to the night sky, and started to howl. It was a long wolf howl, full-throated and mournful, but this was the first howl he had ever let out. The coming dawn calmed him down, but he still longed to return to man. White Fang ran along the riverbank. He didn't know where his family had gone or even if he was running in the right direction. The wolf worked on instinct. He spent the day running through the woods and back to the river, crisscrossing the land. He stopped to listen, hoping to hear the sound of far-off voices or other dogs, but there were only the sound of the wind. He sniffed in the air along the earth. He was trying to find some sign of the tribe, but it was hard to follow the scent over the frozen ground. It was not until the moon was high in the sky again that he smelled something familiar. It was meat cooking on a fire. White Fang ran as fast as he could. Gray Beaver, his wife, and Mitzah had stopped for the night. They planned to join the rest of the tribe across the river in the morning. White Fang sneaked into their camp. He crept toward the fire. Gray Beaver's wife was turning the meat over the flame while Mitzah prepared some leather for the sled dogs. The family had to be ready for travel when the snow arrived. Moved to Gray Beaver's side, expecting the usual beating. He lay quietly beside his master, expecting his fate. Instead of giving him a hard slap, though, Gray Beaver chuckled. "Well, look who showed up," he said. He waved his hand to his wife, telling her to give the wolf some of the meat. "The largest piece you have," he said. "Our wolf has come home." White Fang lay in Gray Beaver's feet, gazing at the fire that warmed him, blinking and dozing. On his wolf heritage and choosing his master instead. He was now completely dependent on man, his food, and his fire.